It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, good morning, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. It's online at joeskarting.com. That is karting with a K. Newly renovated website, newly renovated track, redesigned track, pretty new karts. Got those new eco-friendly Honda engines in them, so they're staying eco-friendly as everyone is kind of heading that direction. But a lot of great things going on at Joe's Karting down at Council Bluffs on 23rd Avenue. Make sure you get down to Joe's Karting today and check out all the information. Also, new hours and new pricing available online so that you can get all of that ahead of time. And the great thing, I love this, that every time I took new friends to Joe's Karting, we always had to wait for the new friends to register. Well, now I can tell them, hey, we're going down to Joe's Karting this Wednesday night, so go online and register. There's a register button online, and you can pre-register for your license and get everything ready to go so that you can walk right in and get your ticket or get your racing going. So all online at joeskarting.com, karting with the K. Dirk, how you doing this morning, bud?
Oh, we're awake.
That is what we can ask for. Turn number 1 brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 night race, Saturday night, May 9th. By the way, that's just around the corner.
We're going.
And they are still available. Tickets for just $99 are still available. Call 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com. That's kansasspeedway.com. Also download the Kansas Speedway app. Great little friend finder on there. And a little side note, I always get a kick out of going to concerts, and in between the bands when they're switching on the stage, you always see the people down on the floor waving at the people up in the balcony because they found a friend. Well, imagine trying to do that at Kansas Speedway. Well, they imagined it, so they created a part of their app that you can find your friends on the app, and it just uses your GPS to find the two of you, and it's that easy. So that way you don't have to keep texting back and forth. I'm in section 202, seat blah, 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 because it's a huge facility, and not to mention when you're outside partying before the race. So Kansas Speedway app, download it today. It's absolutely free. You can get all your information, schedules, tickets, questions, frequently asked stuff. I think you can even purchase tickets through the app, so
I am going to be so busy teaching you stuff at Kansas in the tech
excited.
line that you aren't going to be able to wave at your friends.
I'm excited. I don't have any friends, so you'll be standing next to me. That's about it. We have a good show lined up for you today. I believe we have a good show lined up for you today. I'd expected to review Richmond today.
Well, we're going to be in the studio for a long time if we're going to review Richmond today.
Rained out last night, so it will start this morning. At noon today. Coverage on Fox and MRN. Cool thing that MRN is doing. I love this fact simply because, most of you know my feelings on the quality of Fox broadcast, which, by the way, it's been better this year, so I'll give them credit where it's due. But MRN allows you to stream the races for free with their MRN app. So does PRN. You can download the two apps. Just search Motor Racing Network or Performance Racing Network, and you can stream it for absolutely free. So what a lot of people do, turn on the TV broadcast, press the mute button, pull up their app, plug in their headphones, and listen to the race as they're watching it. So you can get all that stuff for absolutely free. But green flag today, just afternoon, for Toyota Owners 400. With today, we're going to recap the Bristol race. We'll talk about what was the name of the race formerly? It was the
Bristol one?
Food City 500 in support of Steve Burns and Stand Up to Cancer. And then, so we'll review that race. In turn number 2, we're going to get joined by Ben Shelton of MSR Mafia and OneDirt.com. Had a quick interview with Ben on Wednesday night. We talked to him because of the news that broke. Was that Wednesday morning or was that Tuesday that broke that Billy Moyer Jr. was going to be taking an indefinite leave from racing?
I saw it Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday morning is when he released that press release through MSR Mafia. So Ben joins us to talk about that because, what I really wanted to get down to it is that the numbers of times that we've heard right when the news breaks, well, this driver is going to be retiring, and then 6 months later we find out, well, there was quite a bit of a backstory to the reason why they're retiring. So we kind of wanted to get down to the nitty-gritty of why...
the rest of the story.
Right, why Billy Moyer Jr., in not retiring, he's taken an indefinite leave from racing. He's basically just kind of... we'll talk to Ben about it in turn number 2. Turn 3, Stan Caesar's going to join us. Eagle Raceway doing the Rumble in the Bull Ring on Friday night. They were scheduled to race again last night, but Mother Nature intervened and no racing on Saturday night. But Adams County Speedway was able to race, and I-80 Speedway was able to race on Friday. So in Turn 3, we're going to review Eagles results with Stan. I'll go over I-80, and then we'll go over Shelby County Speedway. And then in Turn number 4, boy, I say we had a heck of a show for you. We're gonna take a break after this show preview. More chances to win tickets this coming Friday, May 4th at I-80 Speedway. It's $4 Facebook Friday, but you're going to be able to get in for absolutely free. And in Turn number 3, I'll get you more information on what the $4 Facebook Friday is all about. We're going to get you in 4 packs of tickets. I have four packs for $4 Facebook Friday. Well, that's going to be a fun one to try to get out all at once on the microphone on Friday night. Be listening for your chance to win. We're going to do NASCAR trivia. I have reviewed my math for NASCAR math. So I'm during the break, if you could check my math for me, Derek, it was pretty shaky last time.
I did check your math, and all I know is it's the same drivers over and over and over.
Well, it's, you get them round numbers like 10 for Danica Patrick and 20 for Matt Kenseth. It makes math a lot easier for me. But I did throw in some dividing and multiplying, so I made it a little bit harder. But that's your chances in turn number 3 for that. And then you can call in at 402-573-0590. We'd love to hear from you all morning long if you have any opinions. Maybe if you were at the racetrack on Friday night at Eagle, I-80, or Saturday night at Adams County Speedway, we'd love to hear from you. All right. Review from Bristol Motor Speedway for the Food City 500 in support of Steve Burns and Stand Up to Cancer. Great race once it finally got going.
Yeah, it was a lot of action, a lot of lead changes, which lately at Bristol has not been the thing, or at any of the short tracks, in all honesty. But, yeah, there was a lot going on. Carl Edwards got that rain delay again, which would have been the second race in a row if they'd have rained it out at that point, that he'd have won with a rain delay, but was not to be the case. But a winner from the pole at Bristol is kind of odd, which is what Matt ended up doing.
Was it 23 races in a row that the pole winner had not won from the pole?
Yeah, it was in the 20s. I don't remember the exact number. But, yeah, I mean, and that's 2 races a year, so over 10 years, which is quite a long time.
21 lead changes among 6 different drivers. Kenseth, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Greg Biffle. Let's see. Edwards were lap leaders. Kyle Larson led a lap. So a lot of different lead changes. Rough days for David Reagan. He was running really well for quite a while there, but then he was involved in an accident. Joey Logano involved early in an accident. I tell you, the most popular picks for the Pick'em contest on Sunday for the Bristol race was Brad and Joey. Those were the 2 most popular picks. And after that first rain delay, okay, so we got 22 laps into it. Brad and Joey, Brad just lost it on his own.
Yeah, he admitted it.
It just happened.
Loose
and Joey was collected in the accident, and I got several emails of, well, shoot, we're only 22 laps into it. Can I change my pick? And no, I'm sorry, green flag wave. You're stuck with your pick. So Joey ended up finishing 40th, and Brad Keselowski ended up finishing 35th. So he gained a couple of points off him, but not very much. Kevin Harvick, who looked like he was going to be one of the 2 or 3 cars that was going to battle for that win, ended up being involved in an accident late in the race and just destroying the suspension on the front of his car. Finished 38th. Casey Kane, who, again, another driver who was up there consistently in the top 15, top 10, looked like he was going to have a solid night, involved in another accident, finished 37th. Again, we talked about Brad Keselowski finishing 35th, Greg Biffle 30th, Martin Truex Jr., who had that great top 10 consistent run going through the entire season, actually, finished 29th. Denny Hamlin, who started the race, but then during the rain delay developed neck spasms, so Eric Jones had to fill in for him, finished 26th. Denny does end up getting those points, by the way, because he started the race. Let's see who else. Sam Hornish Jr. finished 19th. Up in your top 10, though, Austin Dillon gets a top 10 finish. He finishes on the 10th spot. Throw out the confetti. Danica Patrick got herself another top 10 finish, 9th. She then breaks the tie with Janet Guthrie, becomes the leading female driver in NASCAR history to have top 10 finishes. Let's see. Justin Allgaier 8th, Kyle Larson 7th, Tony Stewart. Hang on. Is this Bristol 2015? Yes. Okay. Tony Stewart 6th place. Ryan Newman gets a top 5. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 4th. Jeff Gordon 3rd. Jimmy Johnson 2nd. And Matt Kenseth. How about Jimmy Johnson? That guy had. It was one of those days that you just kept saying to yourself, okay, he's down in the running order. I can count him out. Nope. You can't count him out.
No, I mean, Chad Knaus has such a vast notebook, and once the rubber washed off the track and they were kind of starting on a green track, that's a big advantage for him.
Yeah. So he ends up coming home in 2nd place, but Matt Kenseth gets the win, gets his first win in 40-some races because he didn't get a win in 2014 after that stellar 2013 that he had when he made the move over to Joe Gibbs Racing. So good for Matt to get that win. He now is pretty well secured into the postseason. In fact, I think he is locked into the postseason now. We've got, 16 races left? Well,
he's not locked in for sure because, you could still end up with a lot of wins.
Yeah.
But odds are that he's in.
Yeah, and it's... And this isn't the Pick'ems contest where we've got, 38 contestants and 25 of them have wins because everyone took Harvick at Phoenix. But, Kevin Harvick is your points leader, 314 points. He's got a nice advantage over Joey Logano. Martin Truex Jr. is the first driver without a win. He is sitting in 3rd place, so he would qualify for the postseason if we started today, which we don't. Jimmy Johnson is 4th, Brad Keselowski 5th. Dale Jr., Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth, Jeff Gordon, and Eric Almirola round out your top 10. News this week that NASCAR was going to give Kyle Busch a medical leave, so that a medical pass, so that he does qualify for the chase if he's able to get a win when he makes his return. Yeah. I like that call. I think that's a good call for that. And I honestly, I like the way NASCAR is doing this because the idea of the win in your in, but you have to start every race. They made an exception to that when they started it. Said, but we will make medical exceptions. We'll make some exceptions to that rule. I think the genesis of that rule is to make sure that starting parks or drivers that just come or teams that just come and race at Talladega or Daytona, if they get that win, it knocks a more qualified driver out. I mean, if I only race 4 times in the entire season, I race at the super speedways. I guess it'd be 3 times in the regular season. I don't think I deserve to race in the postseason then for the championship.
Yeah, but you haven't seen anybody come anywhere close to winning that. There's so much going on in this sport that you can't race 4 times and plan on winning a race.
I think at Talladega and Daytona, it's your best opportunity to do
Absolutely.
it. Now, the chance to do it is still slim, but I think NASCAR had that in mind. So when Kyle Busch was injured during the Xfinity race at Daytona, they actually came out and said, you know what, it's kind of our fault that Kyle's in this situation, so we're going to remedy it and we're going to give him a pass.
Well, Speedway, or International Speedway Corporation, which owns Daytona International Speedway, is basically a subdivision of NASCAR. I mean, it's all the major stockholders of the France family. It is a publicly traded company, by the way, so if you're a stock type person and want to make an investment, you can get investments in racetracks. It's all out there.
And just thoughts off the top of my head, now is maybe a good time because barring what we saw at Bristol, which was because of rain, stands have been full. I mean, they have been very full.
Yeah, Bristol's owned by Speedway Motors, which is Bruton Smith, also owns Atlanta, Texas, Las Vegas, part of New Hampshire. I'm missing something in there.
Well, they own several tracks in the. It's tough to keep them all in line.
But you can buy stock in that also. Ticker is TRK.
What do you say we take a break? We'll come back in turn number 2, and we'll talk with Ben Shelton from MSR Mafia and OneDirt.com about Billy Moyer Jr.'s news of taking an indefinite leave from racing.
Dan, one thing before we go to break.
Yeah.
Something that happened with the Xfinity race Friday night at Richmond. A lot of people probably didn't watch it, but I know I'll forget it by next week. Mr. Streak, Kevin Harvick, lost another streak. All of his streaks are ending here in the last few weeks, but he had, up until that point, 29 top 10s in a row in the Xfinity Series. Now, to me, the odd part about that is 29 is his old car number.
Yeah. That is. So it ended at 29? Did you see the Fireball video clip I sent you of Brendan Gaughan?
I watched the race, so I saw it at the racetrack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Man alive. Maybe we'll talk about this if we got some time in turns 3 or 4, but maybe it's time for NASCAR to start looking at making some changes for fueling.
No.
No?
No, I mean, that's the first one that's happened since they switched this fueling deal a couple years ago. I was actually at a race in Kansas and was working a pit behind a truck that happened on, right as I was coming back around the front of the truck. And the only thing I got to say about it is it'll spook you, but the mouthful of Purple K I got when they were putting the fire out was enough to make me sick. So
the good news is that tracks teams and NASCAR are reviewing some of the safety procedures. That incident, and by the way, just kind of get back at you. If you missed the video clip, you can go to foxsports.com. There's a video clip of the whole incident that happened, and maybe we can get Brendan on the phone or talk to him at Kansas about the whole situation. But while the teams were coming over to change the left side tires, so they already finished the right side tires, second can of Sunoco fuel was going in, and somewhere along the line, they're not entirely sure how, but some of the gasoline that had spilled caught on fire
correctly,
and I mean it just erupted. I'm not talking about like your regular. I spilled a half a gallon or a gallon of gas on the ground, and it lit up.
Well, that's probably all there was.
That big of it. I'm not doubting you. I'm asking you that big. I thought there was maybe 10 or 15 gallons on the ground by the way that thing exploded. It was huge.
No,
of course that's
not
regular
out.
fuel.
You know, you take a gallon outside and dump it on the concrete, you're going to have a 20 or 30 square foot patch of wet cement.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a massive fireball, and the rear tire changer, the jack man, and the gas man were all engulfed in it. What they're looking at is that the gas man is the only one that's got a full face helmet and fire retardant apron on. So the rear tire changer and the jack man, when they're working on the left side or the left side of the car, they're just as exposed, but they don't have any extra safety procedures, any safety measures. So
that are
they're
mandatory.
Kind of reviewing.
They can wear them.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Every guy on the crew could wear that apron. Obviously, it's cumbersome, so they don't.
Yeah.
You know, that's the same with like wearing the head socks. You see some of the guys wear a head sock. Some of them don't. That's just personal preference stuff.
Yeah. So that's something that they're kind of looking at, maybe making that mandatory. All right, we're going to take a break, come back at turn number 2. We'll talk to Ben Shelton from MSR Mafia and OneDirt.com. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 200 people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team meetings, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Sports fans, the brightest stars of NASCAR are about to light up the night again at Kansas Speedway. Megastars Dale, Danica, Carl, Clint, Jeff, and more. Saturday, May 9th, it's our second annual NASCAR Sprint Cup Series night race. Parking is free and coolers welcome. Tickets on sale now with even more seats for $99 or less. Kids tickets just $29. Call 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com today.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the front stretch. We appreciate you sticking with us this morning and talking with a good friend of ours who joins us regularly on the show, typically to talk about dirt late model racing and to get you ready for the Silver Dollar Nationals, but unfortunately going to kind of talk about some quick news that happened this week. Billy Moyer Jr. announces the indefinite leave from racing, and we're being joined by Ben Shelton of MSR Mafia and OneDirt.com. Ben, appreciate you joining us on the show and having a little chat about Billy Moyer.
Absolutely. Glad to be on here. Wish it was under different circumstances, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not all that well up with the dirt late model news. That's the reason why I like to have you on the show and talk to us every once in a while to keep me up to date too, but this kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere.
It probably went from where it came from. Billy and I are really, in addition to being a client of mine, he and I are really good friends. In fact, I think he was like my fourth client back 6 or 7, 8 years ago when I started this deal. And he and I have become really good friends since then. We confide in each other a lot. And, I've known for pretty much since Arizona. I didn't know it was to this extent. I knew his heart wasn't in it. And I knew he was battling a lot of issues as far as where he wanted to be, if he wanted to stay with the sport, if he wanted to go a different direction. So, I didn't know if he would actually get to this point, but it's definitely something that for Billy has been an issue for a while.
The daily grind of this sport is something that if you don't have that love and that drive and that desire, it's really tough to put up with.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is, it's a fun job, but it is a job. And, and it's a lot of time away from family. And, it's a lot of things missed, a lot of functions missed. And, when you sit back and look at it, it's pretty rough what other people have to sacrifice. I think that's what Billy came to is, he realized what everybody around him was giving up, and he felt a little guilty for that. And then on the other token, he just wanted to be there more. He wanted to be there more for his family, and there's a lot of things that he's been missing that, he just wants to be a part of.
Yeah, Ben, I know in reading the article, with all my officiating I was doing and being gone, close to 30 weekends a year, you miss everything, literally, just like he said, birthdays, weddings, funerals, whatever, you're not there.
No, absolutely. He and I actually had a long talk Easter Sunday. I got a text from him, and he said, "Man, can you talk? I need to talk." And I said, "Absolutely." So he gave me a call, and we discussed this. And I told him, I could relate that actually the weekend before I was supposed to be in Illinois at a World Outlaws race, and it got postponed by weather. Surprise, surprise. And my wife's cousin had a birthday party, and I showed up at it. And when I walked in, you would have thought that the Pope had just walked in. Her family was literally shocked that I was at a function. And, it went from being kind of funny to actually being kind of sad. And on the way home, I went to, I said, is it really that big a deal that I'm there? Because I don't want to make you feel bad, but they never get to see you. So, yeah, when you show up, it's a big deal to them. And that was an eye-opener to me where you just sit back and you go, geez, there's a lot of sacrifices. And I brought that up to him, and he said to that point, that's where he was at. He'd been to all these rainouts. He'd been going to T-ball games and different stuff for family members. And then his nieces and nephews had been thrilled to see him there, and his family was thrilled to see him. And, his bottom line, he said, I'm 27, and I don't want to be 37 and be single and not have anything to show for it. And again, we've seen this sport. It can do a lot for you, but it can break you, too, and it can take away everything you got. And he said, I've just got to get my priorities in line. So, from a selfish standpoint, I'm not seeing my buddy out there a lot. I really hate it, but from a professional and everything else, I got a ton of respect for Billy because this is a tough deal to do. And, along those notes, when I kind of address something, and, we all get rubbed by social media and different people. It's easy for people, especially on forums, to hide behind screen names. But, there was a lot of people not a lot, but I've seen some that said, "Oh, he finally realized he's never going to be his dad." Well, here's breaking news: nobody's going to be his dad.
Yeah.
And it definitely was not for Billy. Billy had got to a good place in his career where he was very happy with what he had accomplished. He would love to go do everything his dad's done, but he realized that it's a different time. He's a different person, and it's just he was not measuring himself against his dad. So. For lack of better words, just kind of want to address the idiots there that looked at it that way. That was not the case. And anybody that can't understand, that his heart's not in it and he's pulling away, there's not much you can say to those people. But, the way he handled it, he had some sponsorship renewals coming up, and he told me, he said, I can take these guys' money and run the rest of the year, but it's not fair to them if I'm not giving it 110%, and I just don't think I can right now. So he left a pretty sizable chunk of money on the table, and, it was the way he handled it that opens the door for future people that want to be sponsored by this company. And it might be Billy, but this company didn't get burned, and, that's another that's misinformation people get out there. Oh, he took all the sponsorship money and called it a year. And it wasn't anything like that. This is something he's thought out and he planned for a while because he wanted it to be handled correctly.
Does he actually own the team, or does he drive for somebody?
No, he does, and that's another thing. A lot of people, his dad owns the team. Why doesn't his dad put such and such in the car? And no, Billy owns his team. Billy has worked hard to get to where he is. He's got good sponsors. His grandfather has helped him with the hauler, but I believe one of the motors. But other than that, Billy owns everything. He makes notes on it. It's one of those deals when he goes out and has, struggles or whatever, it affects him directly in the pocketbook. He pays for everything he's got.
Well, did he ever entertain of just hiring a driver?
No, I think for a lot of drivers, the only thing that's in their mind worse than racing is somebody else driving their car. And I think a lot of drivers would say that there's some guys in the world about old sprint cars going through that right now that are, Jason Johnson being one of them, that are injured. They're having to put other people in their cars. And, as a rule, racers are not good spectators. And, if this is what Billy had to do for his living, then, yeah, he'd probably put somebody in the car, but he doesn't. He's got a degree, and he's got some options with some other jobs to go do some things. And he's evaluating that right now, and really not at liberty to say what he's going to do there because he's still evaluating, but he is looking at doing that. And, it goes back to what I always tell people that want to get involved in the sport. Go get you a degree, because I don't care if you're Billy Moyer Jr. or you're Ben Shelton or you're anybody, it's a deal where you never know when you might need that degree to fall back on, because racing is a tough sport. It may fall apart for any of us at any time, and it's good to know that you got other options.
Talking with Ben Shelton of MSRMafia.com, and MSR Mafia was the agency for Billy Moyer Jr. and made the announcement through you, Ben, and through your company. I think you kind of addressed a lot of it. There's always the people that suspect, and truthfully, I'm one of them that kind of suspect, well, maybe there's going to be another story that's going to come out in a couple of months. But you really addressed a lot of it. It's not a sponsorship issue. It's not a talent issue. It's not any kind of. This is a legitimate. I want to spend time with my family, and right now racing's not allowing me to do that. And if I do that, I'm not able to give racing my full attention.
No, absolutely. And he and I, going into it, his big deal is he goes, man, I don't want people to read this and think that I'm on drugs or something. And I was like, well, I said, I don't know how they would get that out of it, but I said, at the end of the day, you got to understand, people are going to say what they want to say. They're going to make it what they want it to be. And I said, you can't worry about that. But we were laughing yesterday. He called me and he goes, are you getting just hammered with phone calls and everything else? And I said, yeah. And he said, I said, you want to know what the most popular one is? He said, what's that? I said, you got some girl pregnant and you're having to quit racing to become a father. And he kind of laughed. He goes, yeah, I've had that one. He goes, I've had that one a lot. I haven't had the drug one. So it was good from that standpoint, but it does seem strange. But what you got to look at it, and this is a troubling thing for our sport. We've seen the Brady Smiths and the Brian Burkhoffers and those type guys step away from it and call it quit. But it's a little bit more troubling when you see a kid that's 27 that's calling it quits. That's our future there. And without throwing anybody under the bus or anything, there's some other of our younger generation that are really battling if this is where they want to be. But people got to realize these kids from day one, they were brought up into racing. So for 27 years, Billy's had to live and breathe racing. That's all he's had. And, you get to thinking about it, you can see how, he'd get his gut full of that and maybe want to do something else. In my heart and knowing him, I really think at some point he'll be back. But I definitely don't think it'll be this year, and it might not be next year. I think this is a disease. I think once it gets in your blood, it's a disease. And I think that's something that, he's going to battle after some time away, but that day is not today, and it's definitely not tomorrow.
You kind of touched on it a little bit there, and I had a conversation with Lee Ackerman, who writes for the Omaha World Herald here locally and helps me out with the Legends of the Dirt series. And Lee said, you really got to be concerned when somebody like Billy Moyer Jr. is stepping away, because this isn't a guy that got into the sport, raced for a couple of years, and decided to get out. He's lived and breathed this sport for 27 years, and yet he's taken some time away. So does that say something about what we need to address in this sport?
It does. This is, and Billy, it's kind of like we said, and I understand how a lot of people don't understand it, but he's got more sponsorship than he's ever had, and he's got a lot of things going for him. And it's not about a team that's struggling in that. It's more of a burnout factor. And there's a lot of politics in this sport, and you guys know it. And, you get to a point where you just go, man, I don't know if I want this anymore. And I've often said, as far as, having to deal with people looking down their nose at him. And Billy's got past it a lot, but I've said short of there being a Scott Bloomquist Jr., I don't think in dirt late model racing that there's a kid with more pressure on him than Billy Moyer Jr. I mean, I was at his first race that he entered before I ever got to know Billy, and he entered the race, the Kentucky Lake Speedway 9 years ago, and he entered the race under the name Smoke Johnson. And, he did that because he was terrified he was going to go out there and be just really bad, which he struggled. And he was just afraid everybody was going to just bash him because, you're Billy Moyer's son. You should be good, da-da-da-da. So, there's a lot there, and there's a lot of pressure. And, I look at other people in the sports and these other young guys that got a lot of pressure on them, and it's really not fair. I mean, it's, they're just like us, no matter whether it's my first race to announce or y'all's first radio show, it's going to take a long time for us to learn. And I'm never going to be, a Chris Economaki or, somebody like that. I'm just not going to be. But I'm going to try to be Ben Shelton. So I think there's a lot of things there, but I think more than anything for Billy, he got tired of the road, and that comes full circle. We all can understand how you can get burnt out on that.
Well, the people that have done it can understand it. If you haven't done it, you don't understand.
You're exactly right about that. You guys can understand it. I get it. I've told some people since this has come out about it, and they're like, oh, cry me a river, have a real job. And I'm like, you know what? I do have a job that I love, but I also, there's some days that I get 2 hours of sleep, and there's some nights that I drive 12 hours just to get home for 2 days before I leave again. So it's a job, and it's a fun job, but it's a job.
And then there's the days when you walk into the family event on surprise, and it freaks everyone out.
It does, and you really feel just like a piled in. I mean, like, wow, am I neglecting my family that bad? And my wife, Cheryl, she's amazing, and she never complains, but she didn't have to on that day because I just walked in and I was like, wow, I got to take note and try to do more family stuff, and it's kind of crazy when you think about it, but, that was an opener for me because of the rain out. Billy's been home more this year because of the rain, and you would think the rain would make everybody want to get out there more, but what it's actually doing is it's teaching us all a lesson. So that's kind of an opener in my perspective of everything.
Your wife probably looked at you and said, who are you and what'd you do with Ben?
Yeah, I mean, that's about right. And we joked that we were one more weekend rain out away from a divorce because we're spending way too much time together. But no, we but I'll probably get it more. And like I said, I'm very sad that he's not going to be out there racing because I like watching him race and he's a good friend. But man, I got a lot of respect, especially when you think about he could have taken in some big-time sponsor money the rest of the year and just rode it out, and he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that to his team. He didn't want that to his fans, and he definitely didn't want to do that to his sponsors. And, you got to respect a 27-year-old kid that wants to get his life in the line.
Ben Shelton of MSRMafia.com, OneDirt.com, and about 50 other things. Ben, always do appreciate you joining us and explaining the world of dirt late model racing and traveling series for us, man.
No, definitely. Glad you guys had me on, and, I appreciate anybody that listens to this. And, everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's the beautiful thing about America, but I can tell you this, you're not gonna hear something in 6 months that totally contradicts why Billy Moyer Jr. made this decision. And, the biggest thing he wanted to tell everybody is he can't thank everybody enough for his support. And hopefully he will come back one day. But, just right now is not that time. So all that we can hope is that maybe we'll see him down the road. But you know what? If not, if he finds something in his life that makes him happy with his degree or whatever, you know what? Good for him.
Absolutely. Well said. Amen. Thanks, Ben.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Again, that was Ben Shelton of MSRMafia.com. You can get a hold of him, MSRMafia@gmail.com, or go to the website, MSRMafia.com. You can also find him articles on OneDirt.com and in the pits at most World of Outlaw late model races.
Yeah, like I said, it's the travel that'll get to you. There were times in the early 2000s where I'd fly in on Sunday and head out to I-80 and work Sunday night, and I might have Busch All-Star races or WDRL races on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then I was climbing back on a plane for the next weekend.
Yeah. I can tell you, I've never experienced it firsthand, but in some of my past jobs, I used to do local road crew for Sokol Auditorium down on 13th and Martha, and I used to watch these opening bands, their crews come in and they're packed into a cargo van with all their equipment and all, four band members and about 2 roadies, and just see the wear on these guys. I mean, it will age you like no other. The only thing I know will age you faster is being president of the United States. But it is a tough thing being on the road, and the fact that Ben can do that, and I'll be honest, the fact that Ben can do that and keep his marriage together, wow. I mean, holy cow. You hear so many of these drivers, announcers, touring guys, circuit guys, officials like you, Dirk, that they go through 4 or 5 wives, and it's just simply that they're not around and the wives get lonely and things go down the drain.
Well, half the time the guys on the road are getting lonely too.
Yeah, well.
I've seen both ends of that thing.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, you're right. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back in turn number 3. This is the front stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IFCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
And our thanks to Ben Shelton from MSR Mafia and OneDirt.com for joining us in turn number 2. Turn 3 brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts at 51st and I Street in Omaha and I-80 Speedway. Big news this Friday, May 1st, Nebraska 360 Sprint Cars, A-Mods, B-Mods, Stock Cars, and Grand Nationals, along with Sport Compact Screen Flag at 7:15. It's $4 Facebook Friday. Just show the ticket window that you like the I-80 Facebook page, and you're going to get in for just $4. That's this coming Friday, May 1st, Nebraska 360 Sprints. And our next guest is going to be there in the booth calling the races. Stan Caesar, how are you doing this morning, sir?
Hey, that's great, Dan. I just heard you and Dirk heading into turn 3. I'm heading in with you. It's going to be 3 wide. I don't know if that's the best thing, but we'll see if we can make it out of turn 4.
I have a tough time going 1 wide.
Dan has a tough time going in wide with anybody that's wide, Stan.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was listening to part of that last segment, talking with Ben Shelton, and had the opportunity to work with Ben quite a few times, and just a great guy, and I'll tell you what, he knows of what he speaks, because after doing this announcing thing for 25 years, it kind of takes its toll, and before that, I played in the band for like a little over 20 years, so I know what you were talking about with the roadies and moving around, and did that full time, It is a job, as Ben said, it's a great job. It's a lot of fun, and it's like getting paid to do something that you love, and you might be there anyway, but first things first, it is a job, and I really look forward to this coming weekend. We had, Mother Nature wasn't kind to Midwest racing last weekend. Only a couple tracks got a show in all weekend long thus far, and unfortunately, one of them was Eagle Raceway last Friday night.
Yeah, you guys had the your second special of the year. Actually, it was your first special of the year. The first one, your first one got rained out last weekend for the Icebreaker, right? Correct?
Yeah, we got about 80 races in before the skies opened up, and unfortunately had to cancel the second day's action. But we had the USAC Amsoil National Sprint Tour in the house, along with the first event for the new Race Saver Sprint Series of Nebraska, and had a great field of cars on hand. It was all open wheel, all sprint cars all night long. Good crowd. Weather probably kept things down just a little bit because the threat of rain was there, but we did get the show in, and great feature events in both divisions.
Talk about some of those results. Let's start with the USAC 410 wingless sprints, or do you want to start with the SSN Sprint Series?
Either. Let's start with the USAC guys. Those guys come in the house 410 non-winged sprint cars, kind of a different animal. They started with time trials, had their heat races. 28 cars in the house because it was co-sanctioned along with the Wingless Auto Racing Group down in Kansas and Missouri. And the feature was a real nail biter. John Stanbro picked up the lead right off the bat. He looked like he was in control. There was a restart with about maybe 12 laps in to their 30-lap feature, and I don't know if he sealed a tire over, started losing air pressure in the tire, or whatever, but he got dropped like a bad habit as soon as they dropped the green flag. Chris Wyndham took the lead, and Wyndham, kind of a feel-good story. He'd been having kind of a tough year thus far. He looked like he had the race in hand. Last year's winner, Dave Darland, the People's Champ, they call him, over 150, I believe, USAC sprint car victories in his career. And he was right on the back bumper, and they were weaving in and out of lap traffic, and that proved to be Chris's undoing. About 6 laps to go, he tried to go inside of a lap or down the backstretch, and Darland put it up on the shelf through 3 and 4, and they raced wheel to wheel down into turn number 1, and Darland got the lead, and it was all over. But it was Dave Darland picking up the win, Chris Wyndham coming home in the second spot, Tracy Hines was third, Kevin Thomas Jr. fourth, the defending champion, and a guy that was no stranger to Eagle Raceway, Brady Bacon, coming home in the fifth spot. Your current points leader, Chase Stockton, finished sixth. Landon Simon, second-generation driver, finished in the second spot. For seventh spot, John Stanbro dropped all the way down to eighth. Another second-generation driver, Casey Schumann, was ninth, and Aaron Farney rounded out the top 10. But all in all, a great night of racing. Those guys always put on a great show at Eagle.
I'm seeing a lot of diverse drivers on here from Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Missouri, North Carolina, Arizona, Oklahoma. A lot of drivers made the haul to come up for this USAC 410 wingless race.
Yeah, it was kind of neat this year. It was originally the first day of a 3-day swing. Those guys are based primarily over in that Indiana, Ohio area. Over in the eastern Midwest, I guess you want to call it. And, to have them run over, of course, the guys that are running for season-long points, they're always going to make it. But to get a really full field, this year they partnered up with Wingless Auto Racing. That's a small series that's starting out for the wingless cars down in Kansas and Missouri. And they're not quite on the level of USAC yet, but they had a couple that made the feature and did a pretty good job. And we had 28 wingless cars in the house on Friday night, which was a great turnout.
Any issues as far as accidents or anything like that? I know those wingless cars can be pretty unpredictable at times. So, any red flags or major scares?
Oh, there were a couple that were not. They were kind of minor, guys would slide up and get the wall in those cars, and they would kind of bounce over, and they would get upside down. But the worst probably accident of the night was one of the local guys, and it was a guy that was really doing a great job, Tony Rost, and he was a ex-modified driver. He started in street stocks, moved to modifieds, got up into the sprint car ranks last year. Raced some Race Saver races. At one time, actually held the track record in his rookie season down at Eagle Raceway in the Race Saver division. But unfortunately, the same night he set that track record, he did flip the car in just about exactly the same place. He was running second in the B main event. He was in a transfer spot. He was trying to pass for the lead, and unfortunately, in just about the same place, he got that car upside down, and it was a pretty hard flip. He was as high as the catch fencing down between turns 1 and 2.
Wow.
And fortunately, Tony climbed out okay, and they did an all-nighter on the car, and they were ready to go for Saturday night for Junction, but unfortunately, Junction did get rained out.
Let's talk about the Sprint Series of Nebraska in your A features.
Yeah, we had 26 Race Saver 3 or 5 cars, and it was the inaugural race, new series that's going to allow the Race Saver sprint cars to visit more tracks than just Eagle Raceway, and I think it's a great thing. It's gonna let some other tracks, some other fan bases get a chance to see sprint cars, and it's a little bit more affordable for the promoters. And it was great to have Trevor Grossenbacher back in Eagle Raceway. He picked up the win, but he had his hands full the whole race. A guy that comes down on occasion from Arvada, Colorado, Jake Bubach. and his dad, Rich Bubach, had raced for years with the World of Outlaws. He's been around and always loved Eagle Raceway, and they come down to race. He had a good run in last year's Race Saver Nationals down there over Labor Day weekend, but he was on Trevor's rear bumper for the whole race, and it was just about the same way as the USAC race. They got into heavy lap traffic, and Jake was right there and tried to make a pass a couple times, but Trevor held him off and hung on for the win. Just as he crossed the finish line, he came off turn 4, and the car just erupted into a huge plume of white smoke, and everybody said, oh, he blew the motor. Well, actually, it was a radiator hose. He had a radiator hose come off, and the antifreeze caused all that white smoke. And fortunately, Trevor was able to hang on for the win. And he's left Eagle for a couple of years. He toured with the Nebraska 360 Sprint Group, and he was their 2014 champion. But he's got sponsors. I know his family loves coming to Eagle on Friday nights, and so the word on the street is that he's going to be a regular back at Eagle Raceway for 2015. A great way to kick off the season, and he'll be a contender for that title down there. As I said, Jake Bubach out of Arvada, Colorado, comes home in the second spot. Another guy had a good run under your defending champion at Eagle Raceway, and he also picked up the IMCA Race Saver National Championship from Papillion, Nebraska. Clint Benson debuted a brand new race car. He came home in the third position. Adam Gullion finished fourth. And kind of a surprise, Brandon Horton. Horton's a third year now in the Race Saver Sprint division. Came out of mini sprints. Pretty young guy, and he had a fifth place finish. And some tough heat right behind him. Jason Martin was right there, couldn't get by. Gene Ackland finished seventh. Another guy that was a Rookie of the Year last year, Joey Danley, came home in the eighth spot. Veteran Toby Chapman was ninth. And a guy that had to come out of the B main started back, I believe, in the 16th position. Matt Richards, another modified racer, moving up into the sprint car division, rounded out the top 10.
Stan, we always do appreciate you joining us. What's on the schedule for the next couple of weeks for you?
Well, we got coming up, and we'll talk, I think, probably at length on another show, National Sprint League, their second event. It's a brand new series starting out in the Midwest. They got a lot of great drivers committed to following this thing. They had their first event over Burlington, Iowa a couple of weeks ago. They're going to be in the house on May 8th. That's going to be at Eagle Raceway May 8th. Another all sprint cars all night long. It's going to be the National Sprint League, Sprint Series in Nebraska, Race Saver Sprints. Of course, our buddy Wayne Johnson picked up the inaugural win over at Burlington, Iowa. He has since lost his 410 engine sponsor and some of the funding that he had available, and he has announced that he's going to switch gears and follow the ASCS Lucas Oil National Tour. So we didn't know if we were going to have to wait till Memorial Day weekend to see him, but there's no ASCS races that weekend. And a lot of the guys that are on the fence and a lot of the guys that do have 410s that have raced in that ASCS National Series, I think you can expect to see some of those guys possibly over at Eagle. And here's the kicker, the Double Down Challenge, Durst Motorplex coming up with a $20,000 bonus if the driver can pick up the win May 8th at Eagle Raceway, and then the series moves to Knoxville Raceway on Saturday night, May the 9th. If they can double down and pick up the win both nights, a cool $20,000 bonus. And Wayne Johnson, no stranger to those bonuses. Of course, he picked up the $50K down at IE Speedway last year at the Fall Brawl. And point standings going into that race on May 8th, Wayne Johnson, and this is, the who's who of 410 sprint car racers. A lot of World of Outlaws winners already in 2015 going to follow this thing. Wayne Johnson, your leader, Terry McCarl in second spot. Brad Loyette jumping from the AXDS series over to the National Sprint League is currently third. Danny Lasowski is fourth. And two-time national USAC sprint car champion Brian Clausen moving over to the wing cars. He is currently in the fifth spot. And the guy you expect to be up near the top, Brian Brown, another World of Outlaws winner, currently sixth. Tim Kading, coming in out of California, he picked up a ride in the Midwest. He's going to follow the whole series, currently seventh. Mark Dobmeyer's eighth. Billy Paylog, a seven-time IRA champion, and the Aussie Ian Madsen rounding out the top 10 in points coming into that race at Eagle Raceway, and it's going to be a great event.
Stan, we always do appreciate you. Stan Caesar, the voices of the Speedway, coming in and talking to us about a little Eagle Raceway action. Thanks, bud.
No problem. We'll be heading out to IE Speedway for the Facebook $4 Friday deal. Nebraska 360 Sprint Series will be in the house. I'll be there calling the action, and should be a great night of racing. Maybe we'll see you there.
I'll definitely be there. Thanks, bud. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Stan Caesar, the voice of the Speedway. You can catch him as a part of the National Sprint League throughout the Midwest, also the Nebraska 360 races. Saturday nights at Eagle, and he's doing some Friday night racing or announcing at I-80 Speedway when the sprint cars are there to help us out with that action. Always do appreciate you, Stan, joining us. All right, we'll be back in turn number 4 to wrap it all up. We're going to take your phone calls to do NASCAR trivia, 402-573-0590. Now is your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to I-80 Speedway this coming Friday for the race Stan was talking about, Nebraska 360s, A-Mods, B-Mods, Stock Cars, Grand Nationals, and Sport Compacts. 402-573-0590. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 200 people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team meetings, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Ring, 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 ring. Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Hey, and seems like we just started the show.
Yes, it does. But Stan gave us a ton of information.
I always love talking to him, and we were kind of talking about it off the air. It's so nice to have somebody like him, and Ben Shelton, by the way, too, who joined us in turn number 2 to talk about Billy Moyer Jr.'s indefinite leave of racing. You ask him a question, and then they just go.
Well, they do the show almost as much as we do.
It makes you're absolutely right. 402-573-0590. 402-573-0590. Your chance at winning I-80 Speedway tickets for this week's $4 Facebook Friday racing at I-80 Friday night. Green flag at 7:15. Nebraska 360 sprint cars, A-Mods, B-Mods, Gray Nationals, hobby stocks. Stock cars and sport compacts are all up for grabs. And let's see, turn number 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Now starting and now in full swing. This Wednesday night, it's bike night. And by the way, this Wednesday, I know we're a couple of days out. No chance of rain, 71. I get a feeling there's probably going to be around 1,000 bikes on hand for the first real good kickoff of Bike Night at Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. And then on Thursday, it's the kickoff to the Classic Car Cruisin', which we're going to see 73 and sunny for Thursday. So gorgeous weather on its way. And by the way, as of right now, no precipitation in the forecast for the next for the next week or so. So we should be able to get into some great racing throughout the Midwest. Finally, Mother Nature's going to cooperate with us.
Get caught up on that yard mowing.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, this is the time of the year when I got to mow about 2.5, 3, maybe even 4 times a week. You know, I just realized I don't know how you mow 2.5 times, but whatever.
You're from Iowa, so.
I think it's been well documented, my math abilities on this show. So, all right, let's take it out of my hands. We'll go over to turn number 1 and we'll talk to Hugh. Hugh's going to try to win himself a pair of tickets to I-80 Speedway for the Nebraska 360s. 4-pack, for the Nebraska 360s. A-Mods, B-Mods, Stock Cars, Grand Nationals, and Sport Compacts. Hugh, how you doing this morning?
Great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. You ready to play some NASCAR trivia?
Yes, I am.
All right. Should we do trivia? Do you want to do NASCAR math or nickname game?
NASCAR math.
Okay, good. I'm glad you didn't say nickname game because I didn't have that sheet pulled up. Dirk, why don't you ask the question? Let's do NASCAR math.
All right. If you had Dale Jr., Divided by Kevin Harvick, who would you have?
Joey Logano.
Wow. That actually took me a lot longer to calculate last night when I was writing this up. Good job. You're absolutely right. Dale Jr., 88, divided by Kevin Harvick, who was number 4, equals...
Surprisingly enough, you matched what Dan had. So
22. Good job, Hugh. We're going to put you on hold, and you got yourself a 4-pack to this Friday's racing at I-80 Speedway. Again, Nebraska 360s are going to be there. A-Mods, B-Mods, Stock Cars, Gray Nationals, and Sport Compacts. Green Flag at 7:15. Now, I-80 Speedway is doing something special, and by the way, phone lines are open now for you to win yourself a 4-pack of tickets. It's that easy. 402-573-0590. 402-573-0590. Make sure you get in so you can win yourself a pair of a 4-pack of tickets. I'm used to a pair of tickets, but Joe and Lee, they stepped up. They said, no, let's give away 4 packs of tickets for this Friday night. Your name's going to be on the guest list at the door. 402-573-0590. For those of you who aren't able to win or don't get in time, $4 to get in this Friday if you like the I-80 Facebook page. All you got to do is just take your smartphone to the ticket window. Show them that you are a fan of the I-80 Facebook page, and you're going to get in for $4 stinking. That's all it's going to take. While we're waiting for the phones to continue and get caught up here, let's talk about previewing Richmond. Something that we were hoping it was going to happen last night, but it's going to happen tonight. This is an incredibly fast short track.
Very fast short track. Unusual shaped in the fact that it's shaped at a D.
Mm-hmm.
So the front stretch is one big curve. Pit road's a challenge at the place because it's so long. It's not quite as big a challenge as Bristol where you have the front and the back, but it's still a challenge because you got to get slowed down real quick. And having been at this track, there's actually a dip at the very start of pit road, which can sometimes cause a little bit of havoc if they're coming in a little bit hot. The track will work in and get a second groove, so you'll see a lot of two-wide racing, especially in the second half of the race. You won't see that much in the beginning, and it's hard on the right side tires if you're up high early.
All right, well noted. We'll get to Chad's tips for Richmond in just a minute, but in the meantime, let's head over to line number 1. And the Bohemian Bullet, is joining us back on the show again, trying to win himself a 4-pack of tickets to this Friday's racing at I-80 Speedway. Bullet, how you doing this morning?
Not bad. How you doing, Dan?
Doing pretty good. We appreciate you joining us on the show again.
Appreciate your show.
All right, and we thank you for that. What do you want to play trivia?
Yeah, let's do trivia.
All right. I'm going to give you kind of a hard one because I know that you're a big NASCAR fan, and I'm going to have you spell Brad Keselowski. Spell his last name for me.
Oh, gosh. Let's see here. Keselowski. It's, give me just a second. Let me think on this.
It's not in spell check, so don't hit the button.
No, I've got a dumb phone. It's Keselowski.
Hey, got it right on the first
Did
try.
I really?
You got it, man. Good job.
Yeah, but he didn't spell Brad right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, that was the hard part there.
Well, I was kind of figuring there may be a 4-letter word spelled in there somewhere. But
Yeah, I just felt like I was in junior high at the spelling bee right there.
yeah, I know, right? All right, thanks for calling in. Hang on the line. We're going to get you your information. The Bohemian Bullet's got himself a 4-pack of tickets to this Friday's racing at I-80 Speedway for the $4 Facebook Friday, and good for this Friday. So 4-pack of tickets, that's good. That's and by the way, Joe was nice enough. He brought me a Nebraska's Best Pork Tenderloin sandwich, what they have there at the concession stands. Absolutely delicious, but I put mayonnaise on it. Oh
you did? God. Who, what?
Oh, I put mayonnaise on a Nebraska's Best Pork Tenderloin sandwich.
What is wrong with you?
Dirk, you gotta try it. It was so good. It was so good. I could not believe how good that thing was. Now I'm hungry again. All right, tips for the Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond from Chad. The Sprint Cup Series is going to compete at this third short track for in the last 4 races. It's hard to judge who has the dominant cars on short tracks after the mess at Bristol. Joe Gibbs Racing won the first 2 short track races with Denny Hamlin at Martinsville, Matt Kenseth at Bristol, so this should be a good week. The best pick in the field is going to be Brad Keselowski. His performance at Richmond last season was one of the most dominant performances of the season. He started on the pole, led 383 of the 400 laps on his way to victory lane. Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch continue to look like they have the cars to beat on a weekly basis, and it's hard to not justifying using one of your starts with them since they're so good at intermediate tracks. So he says despite how good Kevin and Kurt are running right now, save their picks for intermediate tracks. His sleeper pick this week, and I'm kind of surprised at this, Clint Bowyer. We all love Clint. He's a great driver, but MWR seems to be struggling this year, and Clint seems to be struggling behind that car with this new rules package.
Clint did look good in the first practice. I think he was in the top 5, and he was also in the top 5 in 10-lap average. But the second practice, he disappeared, and qualifying-wise, I think he ended up 17th, if I'm not mistaken, because I was looking at him.
Let me see if I can get this pulled up in time for you. Clint Bowyer starting 17th. Good call. Joey Logano has the pole. Denny Hamlin second. Kurt Busch, AJ Allmendinger, and Kevin Harvick will start in the first 5 spots. Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, David Reagan round out your top 10.
And the front row for the Xfinity race was just the opposite. You had Hamlin and Logano, and they did finish 1-2. Hamlin totally dominated the race. I think he led all but 4 or 5 laps, and 3 of those laps he didn't lead were with 20 laps to go in the race when they had to do a round of pit stops.
All right, we got to wrap up the show and send you off back to ESPN. Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Jeff Gordon, and Carl Edwards. Those are Mr. Fantasy Chad's picks for today. You can always check out his Facebook page, facebook.com/ all one word, NASCAR Tips from Chad. You can find the link on our Facebook page. Like our Facebook page. Keep up to date with everything that's going on in the dirt and NASCAR world. We appreciate you guys joining us this morning. Green flag action for today's race at Richmond on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube at Council Bluffs. The official watering hole of the front stretch at noon. Coverage starts at 11 on Fox and MRN. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next weekend to do it all again.
Yippee!
Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Bowyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.